Wait, if you combine Gregor and Newter, you sort of almost get Grewter.
Welcome to Inchworm,
the podcast in which we're inching through Worm. I'm Jenny.
and I'm Ted.
And this time we read Hive 5.6.
Getting deep into the Hive.
It's like a nice little slice of action, like a pretty short chapter, and they start a fight. So,
things kick off.
Yeah.
And escalate a little bit at the end. So,
yeah, we're really left on a, things are about to get serious kind of note.
Do you want to get into the summary?
I would love to do that. So, last time we ended, they were setting off. So here we start, they are off. They're walking towards their destination. Taylor's a little worried. She's like, okay, bitch put Kaiser in his place, but also kind of annoyed everyone else. If a fight breaks out, I don't know if people would take our side. So she starts talking to the girl from the Travelers, who's named Sundancer, it turns out, and is like, how is it on the Travelers? And Sundancer is like, intense, violent, lonely. And Taylor's like, whoa! And they sort of talk about it a little bit. And Taylor's like, I'm new to this. I'm just trying to suss things out. And so we learn a little bit about the Travelers, which we can talk about. And then Taylor gets shoved against a car by Newter, by his tail. And she's like, hey. And he's like, no, shh. And it turns out there's a patrol going by around this ABB building they're planning to attack. There are like two people who seem like maybe they were in the gang to begin with, and then one person who seems more like a new recruit, and so everyone watches them go by, and they're like, okay, well, this building is tagged. ABB has like spray painted their initials on it, and they're setting up patrols, so like, this is our target, clearly. Kaiser's like, me and the twins will go around the back. And Taylor's like, no, we're not supposed to split up like that. That's the whole point of all of us attacking together. And Kaiser's like, well, not my problem, and goes, and Taylor's like, bitch, make sure to call Gru and Tattletale about this. So bitch does. And meanwhile, the others come up with a plan. Newter kind of takes point on bringing the others together, organizing things, and gets Taylor to speak first because the Undersiders have more experience with the ABB recently than anyone else. Taylor tells him how Bakuda sets a lot of traps, so she wants to send her bugs in first. So that's the plan. Send the bugs in, and then Newter and Bitch are going to go in. Sundancer says she has a lot of firepower, but maybe a little bit too much. Like, she can't really scale it down. We don't know what her power is, but seems to be pretty powerful. And so Newter suggests that she stay back with Labyrinth. They can kind of cover a retreat or move in if there's trouble. And the two guys from Coil's gang say, we're going to be up on the roof shooting at people if need be. So that's kind of everyone in their places.
Yeah.
Taylor sends in her bugs, finds that there are a lot of people inside this building on the ground floor, mostly almost naked, like in their underwear. There are like 30 people unarmed on the ground floor with very little clothing on. And there are 10 armed people upstairs. She looks for booby traps and finds a few and sets them off with her bugs. It's really cool. She like creates like a humanoid form with her bugs, taking a leaf out of Gru's book, and uses it to set off an explosion. Does that a couple more times. And then Newter and Bitch go in, and after the explosion happens, the people on the ground floor are panicked and scattering. And they come out, and Taylor's like, yeah, they're like mostly in their underwear. What is going on? Is this like human trafficking, prostitution? What is this? Who knows? Newter goes upstairs and is fighting a bunch of people. Anytime the bugs touch Newter, they kind of get knocked out. He has some sort of hallucinogenic skin substance, and he can kind of leap really far and just kind of put people down very quickly, which is really effective in a fight. And he ends up upstairs, and he pretty much knocks out everyone except for one person. And Taylor's like, okay, now they're facing off. Wait, there are two people. How did that happen? The first person disappeared. Oh, crap, it's Oni Lee. And then Newter gets knocked out. Meanwhile, Bitch is on the ground floor with the dogs. There's some sort of metal barrier keeping her from going upstairs, and Taylor can't tell if Kaiser did that maliciously or if it was to keep the ABB from retreating, and Bitch is just kind of a side effect. Kaiser and Fenya and Menya are fighting at the back of the building, attracting most of the fire. And when Taylor realizes that Newter's been knocked out by Oni Lee, she calls Bitch. She tells Labyrinth, who seems to be very upset that Newter was knocked out. She tells Bitch Oni Lee is here, and Bitch is like, so is Loon. And that's the end of the chapter.
Ooh.
Yeah, so we haven't seen Loon in Taylor's bug narrations, so it's unclear where is he? What's he doing? Why hasn't she picked up on him? Maybe he just seemed like a normal person because he hadn't transformed very much yet.
Sure.
So.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and one thing, like, Taylor had said, from what the bugs were sensing, Bitch was giving lots of commands to her dogs. And it was really unclear what Bitch was doing with the dogs. These people were unarmed and frightened and barely clothed, and so probably not attacking them, but it's unclear what's going on in there. So,
yeah,
a little bit of a mystery.
The thing that I was so excited about in this chapter was Taylor using her powers. She has her bugs back. She's very confident. She has new tricks. And just getting to see in the second half of the chapter kind of the battle play out just using her bug sense is... Yeah. I love how detailed it is and how she's able to get so much information, but also...
But also it's incomplete.
It's incomplete, right? She talks about how there's the thing where... when the bugs touch Newter, they just kind of fall out of the air. Yeah. And it's pretty reminiscent, actually, of Clockblocker's power.
Oh, yeah. Yes. That kind of tells her where he is, but, like, she can't get more information than that. Right.
And she's sort of like, with, like, air currents and stuff, I could kind of tell he's moving through the space, but it's still, you know. And then, again, what you were saying with Bitch, it's like, well, she's clearly blocked off, but I don't know why. She seems to be telling the dogs to do stuff, but I don't know what. Right, like, you don't get quite enough, but it's still very exciting and fun to read about. And it's just, like, the innovation that you called out in the summary, where she's like, oh, well, Bakuda makes bombs, and my bugs are pretty good at, like, sensing different materials. So, like, find the stuff that doesn't fit in the environment.
Right. Yeah, she says her bugs are really good. Their senses are just so detailed. They can tell the difference between just, like, a normal wall and, like, a plastic or metal thing attached to it.
Yeah. Yeah. And then she's like, okay, bugs are crawling on it, but that's, I guess, a bug crawling on a bomb is not going to set it off most of the time.
Right, you wouldn't want your bomb to be sensitive to bugs. That would be bad.
Yeah. Yeah, and then she does... I took a page out of Gru's playbook and gathered a group of bugs together into a densely packed, vaguely humanoid shape. I moved that collection of bugs through the doors into the place where the little domes sat. The explosion blew a fair-sized chunk out of the exterior wall of the building closest to us. It's so clever. It's so cool. Just, like, imagine, right? I mean, I guess you have to imagine the whole thing, right? She seems to have a lot of bugs because she's going in the ground floor and the second floor at once. She has enough that she can...
She can blow some of them up and it's no big deal.
Yes, enough that she can blow some of them up and it's no big deal for sure. But she's able to fill... It's probably not like a huge warehouse, but it's like probably a pretty big space. So she's able to find 30 people in a big space and, like, have bugs on them. Whether she's just tracking them or also attacking them, right? Like, she's touching all of their skin, right? So imagine you're one of these people. Suddenly the sky darkens outside and bugs start just coming in. They're covering you completely, right? And if you happened to be looking through the doorway where the bomb is stationed, suddenly this, like, humanoid figure grows out of the ground and walks through the door and explodes. Like, it's so cool. I love it. Yeah. I love it a lot.
And I love that, I mean, I think we're going to see this a lot, that this is the third big fight we've seen with Taylor where she had bugs. The Bakuda fight, she didn't really have bugs at her disposal. And we see the method she used against Clockblocker to some extent with, like, the crawling in their, like, holes and various orifices.
It's part of her playbook.
Yeah, and we don't need to see it in detail because we already saw it in detail. Yeah. But we have this new thing where they can detect bombs and then form a humanoid figure to set off a bomb. So I love this. I assume we will continue to see this kind of innovation.
Yeah.
So that's just such a fun part of the fight.
Yeah, and it's great that it's sort of taking the stuff that we already know for granted and building on it. It's very well done, layering in sort of like new ideas and also, we don't need
she's
to
like
hear...
stinging and biting, she's crawling into orifices, and now she has a new skill.
We get just enough of, like, what the bug sense is like that we don't need to go into the micro amount of detail. We're sort of like getting closer to Taylor's perception of her bugs, right? Like she's just getting the information reported at a very high level, and we don't need to like think about all of the little insects in detail. We just can kind of take it for granted.
She gets it at the micro level, but she's able to synthesize it.
Yes.
Partially because she's trained at it, but I think partially just that's one of the things her power does.
Oh yeah.
It lets her process that information.
No, yeah, absolutely.
So I did think that was a cool takeaway. That was not my main takeaway from the chapter.
Well, yeah, please. What was your main takeaway from the chapter? My main takeaway
was that now I am shipping Newtbug.
Newtbug! Amazing. My first note about Newter is hot or not. So let's get into it.
Okay, yes. So first he like shoves her with his tail, and I was like, oh, okay, that's kind of weird. And she describes his eyes as, kind of also very unusual looking.
I mean, he can't like touch her with his sweaty hand.
No, true. Then, but he hadn't registered for me as hot or not at that point. Yeah. Then we get to this thing where he's sort of making the plan. He's calling everyone to order basically, and Newter says, bitch, can you send your dogs in? She nods, and he says to Taylor, the bugs won't bite her? No, I answered, won't bite you either. They couldn't if they tried, Newter answered me, smiling. Funny, if you looked past the odd appearance, the blue hair, the weird eyes, the orange skin, and the tail, he was actually a pretty good-looking guy.
Yeah. I love it. I mean...
I love it so much. And the next page...
Who wouldn't fall for an orange-skinned, blue-haired, shirtless new man if they smiled at you?
Oh, exactly. He's flirting with her. I love it. I mean, Gregor's going to be sad because they're in love, but also I love this.
Yeah, I do. I don't think we know. I assume that most of the characters are not teens if it isn't called out in the story. So I'm a little concerned that Newter might be like 30 years old. He's probably not, but...
It sounds like very recently Faultline pulled him and Gregor the snail in, and they were kind of able to get their lives together. They're, I guess, living in the streets or whatever. Which, I mean, obviously he could be older doing that, but it kind of sounds like he's someone who got his power, was rejected by society, and then got pulled into Faultline. True, he's probably relatively young.
We don't know.
But I'm getting definite flirt vibes here.
Yeah.
Like the next page... He sort of outlines the rest of the plan, and then Taylor says, sounds like you know what you're doing. Maybe some of Faultline has rubbed off on me. He smiled.
Maybe Taylor just has
flirting. It's totally flirting.
I think Taylor just has a type which is people who are like competent above like an average like human mess level.
Yes. No, that makes sense. Why? Like, Taylor is not someone who would tolerate incompetence in a love interest. Like, absolutely not. She would not find that attractive.
The more tactical brilliance Newter shows off, the more she's going to be looking at his sweaty orange pecs.
Yes, his sweat that can knock people out.
Since we're talking about it, I do want to read the description of his power.
Yes.
Yeah, so basically he crawls up the wall like a bolt of greased lightning.
Uh-huh.
And he's like touching people, basically just touching them once to knock them out. Also, honestly, kind of a clock blocker effect on the fight. Very interesting. But there's not a lot of concrete info about Faultline's crew because they're not like the kind of people who show up in the media. But his bodily fluids were potent hallucinogens. Even the sweat that accumulated on his skin was apparently enough to send someone off to La La Land, taking only a few seconds for it to be absorbed through the skin. And she also notes later that, like, he's knocking people out without touching them. And she's like, blood? Spit? Like, what is he doing?
Yeah.
Maybe he's just very sweaty.
I do wonder, Clockblocker's power seems to be one of those absolute things, whereas his seems more biological. Like, I wonder if Rachel's dogs would be as strongly affected since they're these like huge monsters. They might need more of this substance.
Yeah, that's a great
point. Whereas like a human doesn't need as much, and of course a bug, not much at all.
Yeah,
it's unclear, but it's sort of a difference in how the powers work. So watching Newter in action here, he's very effective. So he leaps like 15 feet in a second, and he knocks people out. He's very, very influential on the fight. I kind of have to wonder about his past. So he and Gregor, it sounded like, were both, I don't think they were like doing this together, but they were kind of outcasts of society.
Yeah.
You just kind of like living in the gutter sort of situation. And I have to wonder, if he's this powerful, you'd think... So, I mean, Faultline obviously did want to employ him, but you wouldn't think that it would have taken, like, a single person taking a risk on him. Like, you'd think he'd be in demand. Like, could he have joined the wards?
That's a really interesting thread. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, do you have any ideas why not?
I mean, if he manifested this power, and it seems like in his case, it's not something you can turn on and off like it is for most people. Like, you know, you can choose when to use your power, but his is sort of a permanent physical transformation. I could see him being outcast, like, especially if he wasn't a teen when it happened. But even if he was, if his parents are horrified, that would be really awful. But, like, if they actually threw him out, that would be really disheartening. You wouldn't waltz up to the prestigious government organization and be like, hey, let me be a hero, when your parents just threw you out for being disgusting or whatever. And if it happened later, I mean, it was probably like when he was already living on his own, I could see it being a less of a direct betrayal by the people who were responsible for him, and more just no one wanted anything to do with him, and why would he think the protectorate would be any different?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's sort of you don't think highly of the protectorate for other reasons, but we don't know sort of how they would have responded, for
right.
sure.
I mean, there is also, of course, the possibility that he would have tried to approach them, and they were like, ew, no, you don't fit our image. I mean, they'd probably have been like, I'm sorry, we're trying to cultivate a certain sort of hope for humanity.
Right.
We don't have a place for you on our team.
Yeah. Like, that wouldn't surprise me, given how much the PRT seems to care about optics and image in the Wards interlude. Mm-hmm. The other thing that you said that I would circle back to is, if this is a permanent physical transformation, that means he, like Bitch, does not have a secret identity.
Oh, that's
and I don't know
true.
How much that matters.
Yeah. No, that's
to
a
your,
good
like,
question.
viability as a cape. Because
right.
New Wave is, like, unusual in that they're sort of open.
But New Wave is just this one family, so it's not like he could just join New Wave. Yeah.
Right. So we sort of know that that's a sticking point. But yeah, it'll be really interesting to see if we learn more about that.
Yeah. Because, like, it's possible he just decided to become a villain. But you'd think if you were living on the streets and you're like, oh, if I become a hero, then I'll get this great job. Like, you would want that. Yeah,
perhaps there is an ongoing open question, or maybe theme, of, like, why aren't the wards doing much better at recruitment? Like, we have a lot of examples in the story now. It's a little bit of, like, who Taylor has fallen in with. But we have a lot of examples of...
You'd think they'd really want to bring everyone under their
And we have
auspices.
a little bit of the trigger events logic of, like, this... Like, that's why there are more villains than heroes. I think whether or not that's true, we sort of know demographically there are a lot more villains than heroes. Yeah. And so why can't the wards figure out how to recruit more people is kind of another interesting question.
Because it doesn't quite make sense to me that, like, oh, you've been through something horrible, that makes you want to be a villain. Like, you'd think, like, oh, I went through something horrible, I can take refuge in this, like, safe organization. Like, that could just as easily be the response.
But if the organization is genuinely a place where it's clear that you can take refuge in it.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, and I wonder, we asked, like, are there limitations on who is allowed to become one of the wards? Armsmaster offered it to Taylor, sort of just like, you can become a ward if you want. But he had also just seen her take down Loom, so he knew she was really powerful. It might be that, like, only a quarter of the people who audition get into the wards or something like that, which would be fairly irresponsible of the organization for not, like, protecting these young capes.
We know the wards have, like, trust funds, but if Newter is young, maybe he knows he's strong, wants money, and would rather work as a mercenary for, like... Yeah.
But it sounds like he was really down on his luck before Faultline.
Yeah.
And
I guess, like,
I wonder why he wouldn't. I wonder if he would have tried. I wonder if he tried to join the wards or something like that.
I just think, like, I don't think we talked a lot about, like, well, why didn't Brian see the wards as a way out? Or, like, other things. I feel like maybe Taylor has this particular... It's more curious to me that Taylor is someone who's like, I want to be a hero and I want to escape to the Protectorate and stuff, was reluctant to take the step of joining the wards. But it's like less curious to me that overall, like, there are a lot of people who are not necessarily drawn to, you know, signing up with the, you know,
right,
junior government capes.
Well, I think part of the reason is that they have these powers now, and with that comes this fantasy of, now I can do whatever I want. Yeah. And of course there's this lure of like, I could be this cool villain who just is rich and powerful and lives outside the law, and that would be so fun. That doesn't seem like the life that Newter was living. It also doesn't seem exactly like the approach Brian was taking. But Brian really seems like someone who, A, doesn't have a lot of respect for authority, or doesn't have a lot of trust in authority, and B, does fine on his own. And Newter clearly wasn't doing fine on his own, which makes me wonder, did he try to approach the wards? Did he just think he wouldn't be accepted by the wards, or was there truth there?
Yeah. I guess, I think it makes sense to me that a lot of people would be low trust. Not trying to say that that's the only thing behind the sort of demographics of villainy thing that we mentioned. But, like, if the wards program and the PRT were, like, very effective at their propaganda and their, like, gift shop with all of the, like, look at these junior and if that was, like, really effective throughout society, then, like, maybe it would be more natural that, like, it would be that kind of thing.
If it's like everyone wants to do this, like, why don't more people do it?
Yeah. We also don't know a lot about Newter's origins at this point, so, you know, it's a lot of speculation to put on one guy.
That is true. That's true.
We don't know how representative or not he is.
He gives rise to some interesting questions, including whether he's going to be a love interest in the story.
Well, my question for you, though, is... So now let's assume he is not a teen.
Okay.
Do you find him hot or not?
I mean, I'm only getting his description through Taylor's eyes.
But you can imagine. You got his blank, white, newt-like eyes, his blue hair, his orange skin, his big newt tail, his, I think, jeans, we learned.
You know, I feel like from the description, he could go either way. But Taylor thinks he's a pretty good-looking guy, so I'm going to take her at her word that he is. And I like him a lot as a character, having read this. Like, he's very competent, he works well with people, he is clearly flirting with Taylor, which I hope either he's just being friendly and he's an adult, or, you know, he's a teen. But I feel like more relevant to me is whether I'm interested in shipping him with people.
Fair.
And the answer is yes. Yeah. I'm like super rooting for, not necessarily a love story, but like at least a
Taylor,
friendship
Newter,
there.
Gregor love triangle.
What about Gru?
It's just getting more and more complicated by the second. One moment, since we're having our deep dive on Newter, that I really liked is he is competent. And it's really nice that he's taking the lead, but it is a little awkward, right? So you get Kaiser leaving, which, again, he sucks. But then I really like the interaction where Newter's kind of, like, coordinating with Taylor and Sundancer, and then he talks to Coil's soldiers. And he starts to suggest something, and they're just like, no, we're going up on the roof. Like, we'll cover you guys. And he's like, good. Try not to kill anyone. Right? It's like, clearly the soldiers are like, we're not going to take orders from you.
Yeah,
like,
we know exactly what we're doing.
It's a little bit awkward, which...
It is weird having this many groups together.
Yeah, I mean, right, it's good. It's a good detail that just not everyone's like, okay, Newter, sir.
No, that's true. Yeah, and he's not really trying, like, he's trying to get them organized, but he's not really trying to exert authority in the same heavy-handed way that Kaiser was. Another reason I like him. And he's very effective in the fight, Newter, that is. He knocks out almost all the people upstairs except for Oni Lee. And I really liked how when he's knocked out, Taylor's like, oh my gosh, I have to help him. Like, she's such a team player.
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
She would probably help anyone on her team in this situation, but, like, I think they also had such a nice bonding moment.
That's true.
Over the fact that he smiled at her.
That's true.
And she sends, like, all her bugs to try to defend him, but it's no good.
Speaking of Taylor being a team player.
Yeah.
I loved the beginning of this chapter.
Yes.
When Taylor decides that she's going to be the heart of all of the villains of Brockton Bay, where she's like so in tune to like, okay, well, the dynamics of Brutus's blood splashing, you know, I got to make sure that I'm chill with the other people. And so she's like thinking about it. It's like, well, there's, you know, minimal drama with the Travelers. So like, let me talk to Sundancer. Yeah. I love that she is continuing to be the heart. And I also love that she's doing it out of a like pure utilitarian mindset. Uh-huh. She's not like, I'm going to be spending time with her, so I want to get to know her. She's like, I got to make sure that like I, you know, like I'll butter her up. I'll do some small talk like this, you know, like let's bond. Like,
yeah, she really sees the power of relationships.
Yeah.
And that was something that came out earlier in this arc when she connected with Bitch in that way and healed some of the rift in the group. She sees the interpersonal levers and recognizes how important that can be.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it is utilitarian. She's like, ooh, I better get some allies. But it's not so much like, I'm going to butter you up and like it's not fake. It is like, okay, let me see if I can form this connection.
No, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And I knew she had it in her. Like, this to me is a reminder that Arc 1 Taylor is not quote unquote normal Taylor.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I think that the Taylor we're getting now, as she has come out of her shell, so to speak, is closer to who she was personality-wise before a year or more of being bullied and just kind of trying to get through the day. Like, this is like, I'm past my reaction of like, oh, like, this isn't the Taylor I know, to being like, no, this is who Taylor is.
It must be so weird to have read about her like this and then to just see her being completely passive and cowed by these bullies.
Yeah.
Also,
I mean, I don't know what there is to say in particular about Kaiser in this chapter, except that he continues to suck. But I do love, this is more Taylor personality showing through when she calls him out immediately. And it's basically like, we agreed it would be different. Like, we're supposed to be on a team. Like, excuse me. Like, I'm going to make a point, you know, kind of finger wagging. We have to follow the rules here, which is another great Taylor beat.
Yes. Yeah. I want to go back to her conversation with Sundancer, though.
Oh, yeah.
So she asked Sundancer, how's life among the Travelers? And as I mentioned in the summary, Sundancer says, intense, violent, lonely. Ooh. Taylor's like, why is it lonely traveling with this team? And Sundancer's like, there's stuff going on. I'm not going to tell you what it is. And Taylor's like, no, I wasn't going to ask. I'm just new to this. And, you know, and Sundancer, her response, I'm just going to read it because I think it was really, there's a lot in there. It's not just I can't think of a word better than drama, but drama sounds like such an understatement. Whatever. It's not the other stuff that's going on. It's that we're constantly moving, rarely spending more than a week in one place, you know? And yeah, that sounds right. That sounds like it would be really rough.
Yeah.
Like never putting down roots. Like it'd be like constantly being on like a tour bus as a musician, but like not, like never stopping.
Yeah.
And I wonder why they do that. I wonder why Sundancer is part of this group if she doesn't like living like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just connecting it back to what you're saying about Newter. It's like, why aren't there other paths?
Right, the quirks of her personal history must explain it. But
why aren't there other paths for Sundancer?
Does she actually have, like, is there a reason she can't leave? Or is it just, this is the group she joined up with and that's what she has?
Yeah, I mean, like, what do you make of her, like, what parts of her personality come through, or, like, you know, what did you get from her?
She's a little wary, but surprisingly willing to open up, quickly to Taylor. Like,
and also
like,
intense,
Taylor, violent, and lonely. As she could have been like, life is fine with the Travelers.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
She gives such an honest answer, and then she doesn't want to give details, but she has already been surprisingly emotionally vulnerable with Taylor.
Right.
So I guess ready and willing to connect, like willing to be friendly.
Yeah, she feels very authentic.
Yeah. I liked her a lot. I liked her and I liked Newter. Labyrinth is also really interesting. We do get at the end when Newter has been knocked out and she hears that, Taylor says it. Labyrinth put her hand on my shoulder, half spun me to face her. She didn't say a word. Her expression barely changed behind the cloth of her mask, but it was still the closest I'd seen to an emotional response from her.
Mm-hmm.
We were speculating in the last chapter, like, why didn't she respond to the dogs? It does seem like the answer is because she doesn't respond to anything.
Right.
She is very stoic.
Right.
By nature, by power, unclear, some combination.
Yeah.
But she does clearly care about her teammates. She cares a lot that Newter is knocked out.
Right. Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah.
What did you make of Sundancer's comment about her power?
Yeah, I mean, intriguing. She says, I guess you could say I'm artillery, but I've got the same problem Ballistic does, or my other teammate. I'm not sure I can use my power without hurting a lot of people really badly. That's a tough position to be in, and that is the kind of position, that is the kind of power that I could see leading you to become a villain, because how do you use it as a hero?
Yeah.
But also leading you to become maybe a cautious power user.
It's also really interesting, both Sundancer in this moment and Newter saying to the soldiers, try not to kill anyone.
Yeah.
We're filling in a little more of the picture about like
true.
Norms here. It's sort of like neither
Death is
of them.
not something people are aiming for in this kind of supervillain on supervillain battle.
Exactly. And it could be sort of that is part of, as Tattletale would say, the unwritten rules. It could be more that just sharing this kind of thing is why either we as readers or Taylor as a character are drawn to these people more. Yeah. As kind of like, oh, true. They're not just kind of like
bloodthirsty
sneering,
or
bloodthirsty,
thoughtless,
callous.
Yeah.
Right. There's a humanity to both Sundancer and Newter.
Yes.
Maybe wasn't on display as much with the leaders of the gangs and all the posturing in the first chapter in the arc.
Right. And we talked about even there it wasn't no holds barred, but this is a clearer sign of, okay, but let's not kill people than we've seen before. Yeah. Like we got that line from Gru, like, we're not going to kill anyone in the bank robbery, and we weren't sure if that was practical or an ethical stance.
Yeah.
And, we're still not sure, but it does seem to be clear that these battles tend not to be about killing people. Yeah,
and that Taylor had a lot of protesting in arcs 2 and 3, and kind of like she kept sticking up and like, but we can't hurt people. And it I think makes more sense. It's not like people weren't like, well, obviously, like, you don't seem much like a supervillain. They're like, oh yeah, that is a reasonable thing.
Yeah, they're still human. Humans don't like hurting other humans.
Yeah.
It's like the thing about how most soldiers won't actually aim at the enemy or something. I don't know how well attested that is, but
I don't know.
Oh, it's one of the things where,
I mean, that's part of why you train, right?
Yes.
Because it's so
when you draft like a bunch. I think this was like a problem in like World War II and stuff, where there was like heavy, involuntary drafting, where like people just don't want to kill other people.
Yeah.
So regardless of how good their aim is, like, most people will not actually kill other people in battle.
Yeah, and the thing I was getting at is like that's the reason you do the intensive training is to overcome whatever whatever instinctive
and these
reaction
people haven't done that kind of intensive training.
Yeah.
And I'm sure even if they're willing to make moral compromises, that doesn't mean that killing people whenever they want is one of the moral compromises they've made. Maybe they are willing to kill people for the right reasons, under the right circumstances. Like, probably most of them would be willing to kill Bakuda, but I doubt most of them would be comfortable with the idea of hundreds of people dying.
Yeah, and
because of that.
As we saw, Bakuda, is one of these people who just doesn't care and
has
a lot of fun.
And I think maybe that's the line that Tattletale is drawing.
Yeah.
Or that she was drawing in that chapter in the, I guess, Arc 3, when she was like, yeah, there are the people who are like, okay, we've picked a side and it's the villainous side, but that doesn't really mean we're evil. That just means we're outside of the law, higher risk, higher reward. And there are a lot of people who kind of engage with it at that level. And then there are the people like Lung who are like a little more twisted. And I think she would also, as I've said before, put Bakuda in that camp. And maybe the line really is, are you still human? Do you have like a human reluctance to hurt people?
Yeah. Though it's interesting, didn't she put bitch in the second category, which is like such a bad reading of bitch.
Yeah,
At least based on how well the dogs have been trained, and Bruce is saying that he never killed anyone.
No,
it's very interesting.
That's a good point.
It's
and it might be her short-sightedness about bitch.
Yeah.
I forgot that she'd put bitch in that category.
And we haven't really gotten to the third level. Those a bunch of names and proper nouns and stuff that got dropped.
That's true.
So.
But I do think that she thinks of bitch as, I wouldn't say not fully human, but like lacking some of the normal human capacities.
Yeah.
And that seems to be a common theme among the Undersiders as they approach bitch. It's because their group hasn't had a heart before.
I know. Yeah. Well, it's so good for the Undersiders, or the
Outsiders.
I love it. That's also, it's so like authentically out of the loop, right? It's like, I just love the detail. She's like, I don't really know what you're
one of the outsiders, right?
Yeah. But I'm so glad for the Outsiders and for all the villains in Brockton Bay that finally we have a villain with a heart in Taylor.
The chosen one. The one to save them all.
Yeah.
Should we talk about this battle and what the ABB is up to?
Sure.
Okay, so there are like 30 scantily clad people on the ground floor, which is real weird.
It is a little weird and surprising.
Why don't they have clothes?
I don't know. What do you think?
Would you strip people of clothes when you're trafficking them?
Yeah,
that
and like,
seems weird. Or like if they were prostitutes, like again, why would they not have clothes on? It's not like they're actively having sex with people right now.
Right. It does seem like I don't feel too confident in Taylor's speculation here, but I don't necessarily want to,
Right. I don't. Neither of those seemed like a good theory.
Yeah.
The only thing that I could come up with was that these are new recruits, because as of the last arc, Bakuda had not recruited every Asian person in Brockton Bay. She's still working on it. These are people who've been rounded up, and they're waiting for Bakuda to show up to implant more bombs.
That's a really good theory.
And they took their clothes off because they're going to have surgery.
Yeah. I like
it's a little weird.
It's a little weird.
Why would they take their clothes off ahead of time? But maybe partially to keep them from escaping, like to keep them vulnerable.
It is bad luck that it makes them super vulnerable to whatever Newter's got going on. So much skin.
I mean, it's probably, I guess it would be better for them if they could just escape.
That is true, yeah.
But like getting knocked out by Newter's stuff seems like a good way to gracefully exit the battle.
Yeah. Not quite as safe as the clock blocker effect, but yeah.
No. Still vulnerable to whatever Sundancer can do.
Yeah, and I mean, whatever's going on seems bad. AVB sucks. The little bit about the patrol with like the new recruit who looked really scared
and tired
was really sad. So
yeah, the ABB needs to be stopped. Fortunately, I guess we've got two of its leaders here.
Ooh, boy.
Yeah, Taylor was hoping for some lower stakes fights, and now she has Lung and Oni Lee.
How did you feel getting to the name drop at the end of the chapter?
I'm excited to turn the page and see what happens.
Yeah.
Oh man, I mean, I think the concern is that Lung is out for revenge.
Yeah.
And he's going to know that Taylor's here, because why else would there be all these bugs flying around? Yeah. I hope there's like a red herring thing at some point in the story where they just want someone to believe Taylor's there, so they like capture a lot of bugs and like drive them far away and let them out. It's like, look, all these bugs! Taylor's here! Skinner's here!
I love that. That's amazing. Yeah, okay, so Lung wants revenge.
Yeah, and Taylor is, of course, still very physically vulnerable herself, though she is standing with Sundancer and Labyrinth.
Right.
So, who I keep wanting to call Landslide. There isn't a Landslide. I don't know where I'm getting that.
That's really interesting.
Labyrinth.
Yeah. Faultline, Landslide.
I think there is a
Labyrinth.
Faultline connection.
Yeah, I don't know.
Sundancer, they're all compound words.
Yeah.
Labyrinth. And there are those two people on the roof. Like, there's a lot of protection for Taylor if someone comes after her right now, but it's risky, yeah. Her bugs are all elsewhere inside the building.
Yeah, so any thoughts about what is going to happen next?
I think Taylor will end up fighting Oni Lee more than Lung directly, just because we've already seen her face off against Lung.
Yeah.
And probably Lung is already fully armored by this point, so he's going to be less vulnerable to the bugs.
True.
Yeah, I wonder if Taylor's bugs will be at all helpful in, like, detection of Oni Lee's doubles.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I don't
How would
know.
that work? Just because she
can kind of have senses everywhere. Yeah, she can. Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends how many bugs she has.
She disperses them widely, you know.
Right. Because she noticed, she's like, oh, there's a second person.
Right.
How
so
did
we've
I
already
miss that?
seen that she can kind of detect him when he
if she knows
reappears.
to expect these appearances, she could be a little more helpful with them. So, you know.
That's exciting. Yeah,
what if Newter is dead? He's probably not dead.
Yeah. Can you imagine? We talked for like 15 minutes. What's his backstory? Will anyone date him? And this whole time I know that this is the only chapter.
Right. He just had to seem extra charming because we needed to be sad about his death.
Yeah.
I hope not.
I hope not, too.
I hope he and Taylor get married.
Amazing.
Okay, I mean, Sunbug is a good ship, but Brian has violence issues and is, you know, too willing to be like, look at what you made me do.
And Newter is orange and blue.
Yeah, that's great.
I agree. You know, and it is great. Taylor's being the heart. She's concerned about her teammates. She doesn't worry at all about her supervillainy in this chapter, right?
No.
And, like, I'm also like, yeah, the ABB sucks.
She's
like,
in the action, yeah.
It'd be interesting to see if that comes up.
She doesn't usually... Like, I feel like there are times when she reflects on it, but it doesn't, like, come up all the time for her.
No, yeah, absolutely.
You know, the writing trusts us to remember that that's a thing, and she doesn't have to think about it constantly.
Absolutely, yeah. All right, well, there are no cape names in the next chapter, but I'm happy to read you the top line of Hive 5.7. Loon's there, I echoed, as much to let...
Sundancer and Labyrinth know as to express my own horror.
Got the entire second line. Sundancer and Labyrinth know as to. Incredible work. Well,
I mean, it was...
All right, well, next time we'll get to read the third line and beyond of Hive 5.7.
Wow, can't wait for that third line.
Yeah.
Next time.
On Inchworm. Worm is a web serial by J.C. McCrae. You can read Worm at parahumans.wordpress.com and support the author at patreon.com/wildbow. Follow us on Tumblr and Blue Sky at Inchworm Podcast, or find our Discord link and any other updates on inchwormpodcast.com.